War between India and Pakistan. Both the situations of Pakistan's support for Kashmiri self-determination in 1965 and India's involvement in the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971 involved claims of supporting self-determination movements, but there are key differences between them. Similarities. 1. Self-determination claims. In both cases, the countries involved claim to support the principle of self-determination. Pakistan argued that it was supporting the rights of Kashmiris to determine their own future, while India stated it was aiding the self-determination of Bengalis in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. 2. Ethnic and linguistic differences. Both Kashmir and East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, had distinct ethnic, linguistic, and cultural identities compared to the dominant populations in their respective countries, which fueled demands for autonomy and self-determination. Differences. 1. Historical context. The historical context of these situations is different. In the case of Kashmir, the issue dates back to the partition of British India in 1947, while the Bangladesh Liberation War emerged from a protracted period of political and economic discrimination against Bengalis in East Pakistan. 2. Geography. Kashmir was a region disputed between India and Pakistan, and both claimed it in its entirety. In contrast, East Pakistan was geographically separated from West Pakistan, present-day Pakistan, by India. 3. Military involvement. In 1971, India militarily intervened in support of the Bangladeshi independence movement, which eventually led to the creation of Bangladesh. In contrast, in the 1965 war over Kashmir, both India and Pakistan were directly involved in armed conflict. It's important to avoid labeling these situations as hypocritical without considering the historical context and the specific circumstances surrounding each conflict. Both India and Pakistan have had complex relationships with their regions, and their actions were influenced by a variety of factors. International relations are often shaped by intricate geopolitical dynamics, making it essential to analyze each situation separately to gain a nuanced understanding. The 1965 India-Pakistan War was a complex conflict with multiple factors contributing to the aggression. While it's true that the roots of the dispute can be traced back to the partition of British India in 1947, where territorial and political issues were left unresolved, it's important to note that both India and Pakistan have different perspectives on the causes of the conflict. In 1965, the war was primarily triggered by a territorial dispute over the Kashmir region. Pakistan claimed that it was supporting the Kashmiri people's right to self-determination, while India viewed Pakistan's actions as an incursion into its territory. The history of conflicts between India and Pakistan is multifaceted, with both sides attributing blame to each other for various incidents and disputes. The causes of the 1965 war are a subject of historical debate, and opinions may vary depending on one's perspective. It's essential to consult historical sources and consider multiple viewpoints to gain a comprehensive understanding of the events leading up to the 1965 India-Pakistan War. The 1971 conflict between India and Pakistan primarily revolved around the situation in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. Here's an overview of the events and how it was ultimately resolved. 1. Background. East Pakistan and West Pakistan were geographically separated by over 1,600 kilometers of Indian territory. Despite being the more populous eastern part of Pakistan, East Pakistan felt marginalized and economically disadvantaged compared to the western part. This led to growing demands for autonomy and independence among the Bengali population in East Pakistan. 2. Conflict erupts. The conflict escalated when the Pakistani military launched a military operation in East Pakistan in March 1971 to suppress the Bengali nationalist movement. This led to widespread violence and a humanitarian crisis. 3. Indian involvement. India became involved in the conflict as it supported the Bengali struggle for independence. India provided military and moral support to the Bangladeshi rebels. 4. International diplomacy. International diplomatic efforts were made to resolve the crisis. The United Nations did play a role in discussions and resolutions, but a significant impact on the resolution of the conflict was limited. 5. Resolution. The conflict was ultimately resolved on the ground through a decisive military campaign by the Indian Armed Forces. On December 16, 1971, Pakistani forces in East Pakistan surrendered to the joint Indian and Bangladeshi forces, leading to the creation of the independent state of Bangladesh. While the United Nations and diplomatic channels were involved in discussing the conflict, the resolution was primarily a result of military action on the ground, with India playing a crucial role. The involvement of other countries, including the United States and the Soviet Union, was more about diplomacy and their own strategic interests during the Cold War, rather than directly impacting the outcome. In summary, the 1971 conflict in East Pakistan was resolved through a combination of military action, political developments, and the aspirations of the Bangladeshi people. While international diplomacy played a role, it was not the primary driver of the conflict's resolution. India and Pakistan have had several conflicts, border disputes, and skirmishes since their independence in 1947. Here's a brief overview of some notable ones not mentioned previously. 1. The First Kashmir War 1947-1948. This was the first conflict between India and Pakistan shortly after independence. It revolved around the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, which chose to accede to India, leading to a war with Pakistan. The war ended with the establishment of the line of control (LOC) that divided Kashmir into Indian-administered and Pakistan-administered territories. 2. The Siachen conflict, 1984. India and Pakistan have been engaged in a long-standing dispute over the Siachen Glacier, one of the world's highest battlegrounds. Both countries have stationed troops in the region, leading to occasional skirmishes and casualties. 3. Kargil War 1999. In 1999, Pakistan initiated the Kargil War by sending infiltrators and soldiers into the Indian side of the line of control in Kashmir. India launched a military operation to push them back. The conflict ended with international mediation and a return to the status quo. 4. Border skirmishes. Over the years, there have been numerous smaller scale clashes and skirmishes along the line of control and the international border between India and Pakistan, particularly in the disputed Kashmir region. 5. Mumbai attacks 2008. While not a full scale war, the Mumbai attacks were a significant terrorist incident that strained India-Pakistan relations. India accused Pakistan-based terrorists of carrying out the attacks, leading to increased tensions between the two countries. 6. Uri attack 2016 and Pulwama attack 2019. Both of these were terrorist attacks on Indian military installations in Kashmir, resulting in heightened tensions and military posturing between India and Pakistan. It's important to note that India and Pakistan have maintained a fragile ceasefire along the line of control in recent years, with periodic violations. While full-scale wars have been avoided, border disputes and tensions over Kashmir continue to be significant sources of contention between the two nations. The situation remains complex and sensitive, with diplomatic efforts aimed at finding a lasting resolution.